What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome back to the Power Hour version of Raider Nation Radio's In the Huddle. We are at Rockstar Bar the day after
The
the
very
Raiders
first game,
opened up
preseason game.
their preseason and welcomed fans for the first time over at Allegiant Stadium. I was there. It was an electric atmosphere. The Raiders were able to win the game. Some really positive first steps taken.
Yeah, the defense looked great. The offense moved the ball. First series went down and scored a touchdown.
Right, exactly. And I think that defense in particular, which is we've been talking about this defense for months and months and months now. It wasn't necessarily the starting players, although there was about 2 or 3 players that I think are going to end up starters here before too long. Nate Hobbs, Trayvon Moehrig.
Great.
Yeah. And a couple of others. I'm Vinny Bonsignor. I'm the host of Raider Nation Radio In the Huddle. I also cover the Raiders for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Our show is brought to you by Embajador Tequila and Tat. So shout out to Embajador Tequila and to Tat. And a real big thanks to Rockstar Bar and Grill.
Allowing us to be here.
Yes. Yeah. And this will be the home of Raider Nation Radio rallies every day before home games.
The day before every home game.
Exactly. Starting on September 12th, which would be the day before the season opener against the Baltimore Ravens on Monday Night Football. It's going to be an electric night in Las Vegas, but the whole weekend, right, is going to be great.
It's going to be great.
And we want to kick off a tradition here at Rockstar Bar where all Raider fans come and mingle.
Have a chance to meet other Raider fans from other states, other cities, from this city. Everyone can gather. Have a great time.
Going to be great food, great drinks, giveaways. We're trying to put together a radio show.
Yep, a live radio show.
Yep, exactly. So there's going to be a lot for us to
show.
Yeah, for us car show, for us to get to know you guys get to know us. That's what it's all about. We're going to create a tradition. But without further ado, last night Les was. I've been to a lot of preseason games in my life. Aside from,
kind of felt like a regular season.
It did. The atmosphere did, without question. But I was there when the Rams came back from St. Louis to Los Angeles, and they opened. It was 20 years that the Rams had been gone, and they opened up the preseason that year against the Dallas Cowboys at the LA Memorial Coliseum. There were close to 100,000 people there. On a Saturday night, ESPN live televised, and it was that was an electric night. That was the first time I saw Dak Prescott, by the way, and he looked really good to start that game off. But anyway, that was a great atmosphere. But I have to say, what I saw last night, more than 50,000 fans there, which is great for a preseason game.
Preseason game.
Santana performed at halftime. There was a pregame concert. Marie Osborne, who's big here in Las Vegas, performed the national anthem. It was just a great night, and they played a good game.
Great way to kick off a game, a season. And I was watching the offensive very first series.
Yes.
Man, I like the personnel that they were in. I like how when they got down to their red zone and they said, you know what? It was like a 23 personnel kind of looked like, or 13 personnel, right?
3 tight ends were on the field.
Yep. 1 running back, 2 running backs, 3 tight ends, man.
It's interesting you bring that up because the Raiders last year were 23rd in the NFL in red zone touchdown percentage. They were pretty good in terms of scoring points in the red zone, but too often for them, they kick field goals rather than score touchdowns. Well, last night it gets to the red zone. They get stuffed on 3rd down, nose to nose on the goal line, which has been a particular sore spot and weak spot for them.
Right.
So we're up in the press box and everyone's going, here we go again with the red zone struggles. And John Gruden goes for it on 4th down and they score the touchdown.
Right.
I thought that, and it was conspicuous that they ran to the right side. That's where young Alex Leatherwood is. Thought he had a pretty decent game for a first.
A lot of the running plays went that way, right?
That's the reason why they went out and got Alex Leatherwood, that zone.
Seems like they're riding on him, man.
Yeah, and so he had some ups and downs. Every rookie's going to have that, obviously. But I think more often than not, he stood up to the challenge, and for a first game, not a bad.
And I think for like you said, a first game, a rookie, he did really good. He did really, really good, and the confidence that they probably have in him to consistently run his way.
Right.
To feel that that's the way to go.
And I think he understands that and accepts that challenge. The Raiders' zone run game, often their power side is the right side. That's where they want to run. And last year, because of injuries and all that drama that they had along the offensive line, they really weren't able to get that going the way they wanted to do. And Josh Jacobs ran for 1,000 yards. It was the second straight year that he did that. It's the first time that a Raider running
done that, huh?
since Marcus Allen.
Oh, wow.
So that just tells you that's a lot. It's a long time to go without back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons by the same guy.
Right.
But if you look efficiency level, he went from 4-point-something yards per carry his rookie year to under 4 his second year. So they need to get that back up into the 4s.
And I think they will, because now they brought in an extra running back, so his body will be fresh, right?
Right.
So whenever he comes in, he's a fresh body.
Yeah. Shout out to Nate Peterman. He played every play but one play last night. That normally doesn't happen in the preseason, but because Derek Carr obviously wasn't going to get used last night. Marcus Mariota got hurt a week ago at the scrimmage that the Raiders had at Allegiant Stadium. He was running
What happened?
He tweaked a leg. He looks okay. He was out there warming up yesterday and looked fine. But he had missed a couple of days of practice, and I think the Raiders just said, no, you're not going to play tonight.
Good for Peterman.
Yeah,
right?
good for Peterman. And they brought in a
Gives him
fourth.
more playing
Yeah,
time
and he played well.
Yeah, he did really well. He threw a nice pass on that first series.
Yes.
Right down the sidelines for about 20-some yards.
To Zay Jones.
Oh, that was a nice throw. Man.
Number 7.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring that up to you, Les. There's some, Raider Nation, sometimes, they come down pretty hard on Nathan Peterman. But I got to ask you, football. This is the Raiders' third-string quarterback. Yeah. He's in the system now 3 years. This is his third year in the Raider system. It's almost a luxury to have a third quarterback.
Oh, it is.
That's 3 years into the program. I mean, if something were to happen to Derek Carr, then all of a sudden it's Marcus Mariota, but Peterman becomes...
Marcus gets hurt and now the third guy.
To have a guy that...
I don't think there's any other team like that.
Right.
They have a third quarterback that understands the system like that.
Right, because normally what happens is you have to go out on the street.
Yeah.
Or maybe
calling guys from Walmart.
Yeah, exactly, and giving them a rush course, and just because you're a play away at that point.
Oh yeah.
And so to have somebody that's still young, 27 years old, has some starts under his belt, but understands the system. I think that sometimes fans think that all these guys are going to be Pro Bowl players.
Yeah.
He's your third string quarterback, but he knows the system.
And he scored on the first drive. Like, you don't understand how big that is. Like, I'm sure Seattle had some guys out, probably, like on their starting defense, but he went against their ones, who they thought that was their ones, and he went on the first drive and scored a touchdown. That's big.
Exactly.
Man. That really is big.
And even though it was some of the Seattle second stringers and third stringers, Pete Carroll was still dialing up all kinds of blitzes and stuff like that. It was
pride,
right.
The team and the coaches still have pride not to give up a touchdown on the first drive.
That's
like the biggest goal of a defense is not give up a score on the first drive.
Exactly.
Like, you got to get a 3 and out, or definitely don't let them score. And he did that.
Yeah.
And the quarterback did that.
It's sometimes unusual for defenses to dial stuff up, but Pete Carroll is a unique coach. But if you're the Raiders and if you're John Gruden, you kind of like it because that's just blitz pickup and things like that this early as you're in.
To see all of that.
Yeah. So that was something that the Raiders did a pretty good job of keeping the quarterback clean with a young offensive line and being able to pick it up and understand it. But I do want to talk about that defense.
Oh, the defense looked great.
Yeah,
and they were flying around.
They were flying around, and we've. Les obviously understands how much we've talked about defense.
And the thing about it is when they're playing fast, it tells you that they know what they're doing.
Yes.
And they're confident in what they're doing. Because that's why they're able to play fast. And they look fast out there, man.
They did. They got off the field on third downs. There were in the first half, there were the Seahawks had 5 third down plays. The Raiders got them off the field 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
A small little thing, but last year the Raiders were third worst in the NFL. In third down efficiency, they would play pretty decent downs 1 and 2, get them into a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 12,
and give up the first down.
Which is, how demoralizing is that?
It is. It kills your energy, man. It's like, man, another set of downs. You know what I mean? And last night, I was very impressed with Nate Hobbs.
Oh yeah.
What do you think? What do you think?
I've been writing a lot about Nate Hobbs and talking a lot about Nate Hobbs on the radio show. And I know sometimes fans are like, "Oh man, come on!" I'm letting you know that what you guys saw last night is what we're seeing in training camp all the time. And he's got a great story, Les. And I talked to him about this on draft night. in a different interview that we did, and then again last night. This is a guy who, when he was 12 years old, his father died. All right, so his mom had to raise 4 kids, making about $25,000 a year. Okay, he lived in Louisville, Kentucky. The only offer that he had was Western Kentucky, coming out of high school. But the last second, Illinois coach was Lovie Smith, decides to offer him a scholarship. So
and you know, you think about it. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
a guy like Lovie Smith is a Super Bowl coach. He knows what he saw. Right?
And a secondary coach.
Right, and on top of that, he coached secondary, so he knew what he saw in that guy.
Exactly, and Nate definitely gives Lovie a whole bunch of credit. But so then he gets to Illinois, and he had a good career at Illinois. But then his uncle, who was his father figure, passed away.
While he was in college.
While he was in college, and then his grandmother passed away. And then he goes in the 5th round, and on draft night, Les, he said, "I'm going to remember every guy that was drafted ahead of me. That I feel like."
Yeah. You were better than that.
Yes,
right?
he goes. I'm going to remember that, and he goes.
I'm being arrogant. It's
no,
being confident.
And he goes, and I'm never going to forget this by the Raiders for drafting me. He goes, they're going to get the best underdog that they ever got. So this is a guy who has a giant chip on his shoulder, but in talking to like his teammates and his coaches, every one of them from day one, guys, from day one. Hey, who's impressing you?
Nate Hobbs.
Nate Hobbs. He's a professional. He comes to play. He works hard. Last night, talking to John Gruden, I asked him about Nate Hobbs. And he's like, there's certain guys that bring an energy.
Yeah.
They bring juice. He goes, I can't explain it, but they bring something. And he's one of those guys. He's on top of things, whatever it is, walkthroughs, film sessions.
That says a lot because you know when you draft a guy like Ruggs, everyone knows already, right?
Right.
And everyone's like, the expectation is there. Everyone knows his name. Leatherwood, everyone knows his name. But when you draft a guy in the 5th round, and everyone knows about him. He's making an impact.
He's making an impact.
Room and on the field.
And the Raiders obviously have a starting spot open at slot cornerback. And
like might be his.
Well, John Gruden said he could be a day one starter. He goes, we still have a lot to evaluate, but we like our 5th round pick. And interesting talking to him about that. Nate, he played exclusively on the outside. Pretty much at college. Yeah. He's liking the move inside. He's fast.
He's super fast.
And he's tough and he's physical and he's got a good build to him.
Right.
But he's like he likes it because he's being challenged and growing as a defender because when you're in the slot, there's a lot of run support. He said, he goes, it's part cornerback, part linebacker.
Right.
You got to run fit. You got to plug gaps.
Yep.
But then obviously you have to be able to play the pass, and he's been doing it. Last thing about Nate Hobbs, and this tells you a lot about him. John Gruden made it a point last night to tell us he played wire to wire on special teams. He was out there on the last special teams unit that the Raiders needed. This is late in the game. He started the game. Little things like that, like he wants to be out there.
Want to be on the field.
Yeah.
And those are the guys you want.
Yeah. So he went wire to wire from a special teams standpoint. I think he was on every one of their special teams units. And don't overlook that. Special teams is huge.
Oh, it's huge.
It's huge. It's a huge part of the game. And you can't just run anybody out there. You just can't. And so Nate Hobbs is really.
You lose the game.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of games won and lost because of special teams.
Right.
So
you don't put like your worst guys out there. You put the guys that really can make a difference.
And I'll say this, Les. I'm at practice every day. It's hard to replicate special teams in practice. You punt, you cover it, you return it, you have your blocking schemes, you have your all of that, but it's still not 100% speed.
Right.
When the game starts, it's full board. Now go make the tackle. Now it's a completely different world. Yeah. So while some people may say the preseason, how important it is, it's really important.
Huge.
And from the special teams standpoint.
Right, and then it's your opportunity to make the team.
Right.
And speaking of that, like after this game, how many people do you think they're probably gonna release? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, there's a cut down day coming on Tuesday. This Tuesday. So 5 players. They have to get down to 85. And
how do they let them know?
It's and I have
show up to the empty place.
I have to say this. It's an emotional day,
Yeah,
and it's not just an emotional day for the players. Obviously, it's terrible, really, but from a guy like John Gruden's standpoint, he's usually the guy. Him and Mike Mayock are the ones that are going to tell him. Yeah, you have to understand that, like even for the youngest guys, typically they've been part of this program going back to since spring. Like it's OTAs, getting to know them, working out, practice film room, meetings, all of that kind of stuff. And essentially, you're having to tell somebody, you're not necessarily that your dreams being ended, but it's being redirected or put on pause. And you get to care about these guys.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You get to care about. There's very few knuckleheads at this level. There's very few people that are just not very likable people.
Right.
You know.
You can just get rid of them. Right?
Yeah. Like, okay, goodbye.
But for the most part, they're all trying hard to make
exactly,
the team, right?
and they're all really pretty darn good too.
Exactly.
Quick reminder, because in the past, when there were 4 preseason games. Remember, everyone, the NFL moved to a 17th regular season game.
Yeah.
To make that all work, they cut out the 4th preseason game.
Yeah,
right?
Which makes sense, because of body now. I don't think it take that much pounding.
But it also means
they have little time to make the team. Right?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing: it got to a point when there were 4 preseason games where coaches told owners in the league, look, you can't make us cut, and then get down to that 4th game with only 60 players or so, because they don't want to play their starters in that game. Any of their starters, any of their second team players. So when it was 4 games over like the last 3 or 4 years, there were no cuts, because what the NFL decided was, we'll give you 90 players to play that last game with, so that none of you don't, like if somebody were to get hurt or during the game, you'd have to put one of your starters in. So the NFL understood that's not wise. But because they took that 4th game out, now they've reinstated the cuts. So it's 85 it's 90 to 85 on Tuesday, and then I think another round of cuts the following week to get it down before that 3rd preseason game, which 3rd preseason game will be the final one, and also the final dress rehearsal. I think you'll see Derek Carr play quite a bit in that game.
The roster will have been condensed.
It'll be condensed. Plus, you kind of
3 quarterbacks, man.
Yeah, 3 quarterbacks. Right now, 4th. He's probably on in position to probably get cut, the 4th quarterback. But yeah, Tuesday is a cut day. 5 guys, because I think the Raiders roster is at 90 right now, so it'll be 5 guys. But a lot of those guys, whoever does get cut, they automatically become candidates for the 16-player practice squad. So
okay, that's good.
Yeah, there's always that option. We've seen plenty of guys.
So there's 16 players on the practice squad.
I think it's still going to be the 16 that it was last year, which is up. There were 6 spots that they opened up for the practice squad because of COVID last year.
What position do you think that they're a little heavy on there? You could see maybe they're cutting on that position.
Defensive line.
Yeah,
and. Say running back, wide receiver. I think there's some NFL caliber wide receivers that probably won't make the team. But yes, definitely. When you start looking at that defensive line, you've got Cleve Farrell.
Oh, he looked good yesterday.
Carl Nassib. Yes, he did.
Crosby.
Max Crosby, Unique Ngakwe, Quentin Jefferson, Solomon Thomas, Gerald McCoy, Darius Philon, who looked good yesterday.
How many do you think D linemen are going to keep at the very end?
9, maybe 10. I mean, that's why Peterman now. Do you keep a 3rd quarterback? Not everyone keeps a 3rd quarterback. Yeah. So, but if you feel like, hey, we've got a chance to really strengthen ourselves on that defensive line, and there's a guy that we don't really want to cut, we may keep an extra one, or sometimes in the defensive backfield too.
Right.
With the way football is nowadays, sometimes that 3rd quarterback is vulnerable, but typically John Gruden likes to keep 3 quarterbacks, so we'll see.
I mean, I'd keep all 3.
It depends on where it's going to. You have to get down to 53.
Right.
And it's no joke.
But then, not to start anything, but then you might have something to trade.
I think he's referring to a guy by the name of Marcus Mariota. We've talked about that. We've talked about that.
He's a valuable piece. Not like, people would trade a lot for a guy like that.
You would think. And if I'm the Raiders, it would have to be a lot.
Right.
Because I don't want to be in a position if I'm the Raiders, and they do have playoff aspirations.
Yeah.
And remember back in 2016 where Derek Carr got hurt the week before the playoffs, or 2 weeks before the playoffs, and they were lost at backup quarterback, and they ended up losing their next 2 games out end of the season, and so. If I'm John Gruden, and Nate Peterman looked good yesterday, but if I'm John Gruden and I'm looking at a possible playoff run, if something were to happen to Derek Carr,
you definitely need somebody.
I'd like to have Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, well, out of the 2, the backup,
right?
Backup quarterbacks, definitely, or maybe trade the third string quarterback because if he continues to look good in the preseason. You never know, man. With all these guys losing their quarterback, he might be a good trade.
Even as a backup, you're because now he serves that second string value to another team. So not sure what you would get in return, but if you could get something for a backup quarterback,
or like some late draft pick or something for him,
exactly.
At least you got some for him.
Yes, exactly. So big week this week for the Rams. People are having fun at Rockstar Bar, which we love.
Yep. Definitely. Good energy.
Yeah,
there,
exactly.
Right? Getting ready for the Raiders.
Football is going on TV right now. Big week for the Raiders. They have
to measure themselves against possibly the best defensive unit in the NFL.
No practice on Monday.
Even better than a preseason game.
Yes.
Really. Honestly, it really is the whole week.
I agree.
Against that.
I've seen so many of these joint practices that I understand now the value in them because Aaron Donald's not going to play on Saturday. Jalen Ramsey's not going to play on Saturday, but he's going to practice on
against them,
Wednesday and Thursday. And the thing, and we've talked about this, when you're in a game as a coach, you can't control it. The game unfolds the way the game's going to unfold. So even if you want to play this guy the first 2 series, sometimes those series might be 3 plays, a turnover, a 3 and out.
You're down 7-0, so you got to start adjusting it. It doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Whereas in a practice setting, you're going to guarantee get this
some X amount of reps.
In this situation, in that situation, John Gruden, Sean McVay was a protege of John Gruden. John Gruden gave him his first NFL job well, did you ever hear that story?
No, please.
All right. So this is how this all started. This is a pretty interesting story, and what friendship is all about, and loyalty really.
That's
is all
why you
about.
think that they practice together because of their relationship.
Yes.
Said that
this will be the 2nd or 3rd time that they've done this too. Okay, so way back in the day, Sean McVay's grandfather, John McVay, who was instrumental in building the San Francisco 49ers. He was the head coach. And then he becomes the personnel director for the San Francisco 49ers when they built those teams under Bill Walsh.
Those Super Bowl championship teams. Wow.
But when the grandfather McVay was a head coach, in the college ranks, he gave a young assistant coach his first college job, and that was John Gruden's dad.
Wow.
Back in the early 70s, I think it was.
Okay.
And so that led to a bunch of different things and a family connection that, check this out.
Wow.
Gruden's dad was coaching at Notre Dame. He was with Notre Dame. And I think John actually went to South Bend High School. That's like one of the high schools that he went to.
While the father was coaching.
Yeah, while the father was coaching. Years later, the 49ers, a few years later, I should say, the 49ers are getting ready to draft in the 3rd round, okay? And they needed a quarterback. Bill Walsh was the head coach. John's grandfather is basically the general manager of the 49ers. And they're looking at this Notre Dame quarterback, and he's still on the board in the 3rd round. And they're wondering, are we missing something? Is there a reason why this guy's still there? Are there some red flags? So who do they call? But John Gruden's dad.
Right, because he's there.
To say, hey, man, we're thinking about blah, 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 and he's, go for it. That quarterback was Joe Montana. It was Joe Montana, all right? This is all true, So anyway.
No, it's good to have that kind of insight because they'll tell you exactly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me, I don't know why he's there.
Right.
You should take him.
So Gruden's father was very big in the 49ers and McVay drafting Joe Montana. And so because of when years later, Sean McVay goes to he plays college at Miami of Ohio.
Okay.
Little scrappy. By the way,
yeah. No,
Sean McVay was the Georgia High School Player of the Year. He was an option quarterback. They won like a state championship. You know who the second was? Megatron.
What? Really?
The wide receiver.
Yeah, the receiver for Detroit.
Yes.
Right.
So even Sean's like, come on. Yeah, probably not the best choice, but hey, go watch. There's some tape on YouTube of Sean McVay playing football.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes to bowling. He goes to Miami of Ohio. He's good, but he's not that good, you know.
Yeah.
And by the time his senior year comes around, he's starting to think about getting into the coaching world.
Right.
And who do they call? John Gruden, who was the head coach of Tampa Bay. And John Gruden told me, he's like, of course, I'm I'm here because his grandfather,
Right.
So, but Sean will always get around that.
How things come around.
I got hired, then I got fired because that was John Gruden's last year in Tampa Bay in like 2008 or so. Yeah, I think it was 2008. So he goes, I get hired, and then I get fired. It was my first welcome to the NFL, So, so and then Sean ended up going to coach for John Gruden's brother in I think it was. Okay.
Pull the door down.
All right, cool. Check. All right, cool. So then so after he gets fired, he ends up coaching in it was like the American Football League, or it was kind of a minor league with
XFL.
Jay Gruden. No, it was one of those with Jay Gruden, kind of like that though. With Jay Gruden, John's brother. Yes, exactly. That was pretty funny. And then Sean McVay goes to the Washington Football Club, which was coached by Mike Shanahan.
Oh yeah.
And Kyle Shanahan was on that staff.
Right.
And
There's some good coaches on that staff.
Can you imagine Sean McVay? Sean McVay started out as a tight ends coach in Tampa, in Washington, then ended up becoming the offensive coordinator when Kyle left.
Right.
And then Jay Gruden took over, so as the head coach.
The
Shanahan's lead, Jay Gruden takes over. So the Gruden relationship with McVay has led to and now they're practicing against each other. So it'll be great to see. I think this young offensive line for the Raiders against that defensive line.
Front. Yeah, the defensive front.
You mentioned Ruggs and Brian Edwards going against a guy like Jalen Ramsey. So it's going to be a great week, culminating with a game on Saturday at SoFi Stadium, which I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of Raider fans in Los Angeles. So if you're watching in LA, I'll be there. Come by and say hi if you get a chance. But we'll be back next week.
Yeah, next week.
The following week to talk about it and go
wrap
over it.
up about how the Rams and the Raider practices went.
Yep, exactly.
Who looked good. Because like Vinny had mentioned, some of these guys, they won't be in the game. So, he'll have some information about how they looked in the practice.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing videos while I'm in LA and tweeting, of course.
Right.
We'll be doing the radio show in the huddle 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. You can listen to it on locally here in Las Vegas, 9:20 a.m. But if you're out of town, go to the Raiders site, Raiders.com. You can stream it live on this.
And also on the social media, you can follow that on the Instagram.
Yep.
In the Huddle Las Vegas.
Yes. And the podcast version is always posted soon after the show every night.
Also,
Yeah, exactly. So you can check us out on there. But until then, I want to say thanks to, by the way, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, leave comments. We're always open to any suggestions. and all that. I want to say thanks again to Rockstar Bar. Can't wait to get this place lit up on September 12th. And I'm really looking forward to that. Want to say thanks to Les Kekahuna, my great co-host. Want to say thanks to Embajador Tequila, Tat. What's their do we have a website for Tat?
I believe it's tat.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Visit their website. It explains a lot.
The product.
It's really a tremendous product. Obviously, you can go to embajadortequila.com. Check out. You could buy, if you're out of state, you could buy it
online.
Online, they're great products. We will be back at it next week. You're in the huddle. It's the Power Hour version of In the Huddle. Take care.
Thank you.